So I'm gonna rip this thing apart today. I wanna dig into it, get off everything I don't need, and I wanna get this cab ready for sandblasting. So the front end, I haven't touched anything on this truck since I bought it. I literally purchased it, brought it home, tucked it away in the corner, haven't looked inside it or nothing. So I don't know what we're gonna find. There's a few cool things on these trucks that I don't even know everything about, but I want to dig into. First off, we're gonna get rid of this front end. There's not much holding it on. I want to get it out of the way and then tear in everything else. Now what I'm going to do with the front end, and I'll do this later on, there's no rush, I'm going to pull the headlights off. These headlights are of no use to me, but somebody who's restoring one of these trucks might need a set, and these are in good shape. So I'm going to pull them off, try and sell them. The fenders are absolute junk. There's nothing to save. Like, they are crusty, holy garbage. The grill isn't amazing. You can tell something is hit right here, and all of this is off kilter a little bit, but it can be straightened. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep the original hood and front grill section, so I'm not going to throw that out right away. And stuff like this you don't throw out. Somebody else might be looking for something like this. The hood's in great shape, so you know, somebody else might have a use for it if I don't, so I won't throw it out. But the fenders are garbage. I'm going to scrap those just to get them out of my way, and you know, that's going to free up a lot of space. Now the rest of it, this guy right here, I mean, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure this is the oil filter. Back in the day, I could be wrong, but it's got an inlet. It even says on it inlet. And there's the outlet. But I'm going to open it up and see what it looks like inside. And then there's all this other stuff that we got to strip off the cab. You know, old coil. You know, we got the old steering box we're going to pull out. It's been leaking on my floor. There's a pedal assembly here. We're going to pull that out. This part of the floor has been bent. This all screws on and we can unbolt it and take it off. So we're going to take off everything we don't need. All this bracketry can come off. And yeah, you know, stuff like this. Mirror bracket, we're not going to need anymore. The roof lights. You know, this was a work truck. We're going to rip that all off. This had a beacon on the top at one point. Get rid of that. And I'm going to pull the doors off. Let's see what's inside this thing. Well, I see a spring. This is one of the things that's going to blow apart on me. Hey? It's like someone uncaging a set of brakes on a transport truck and you just lose your face because this thing flies off. Or undoing like a strut mount or something on the top of the strut. Well, we'll see what the hammer does to it. Check this out. I would say that's the oil filter. It's a Wix. It's got a little handle to lift it out. And there's oil in it, which is running all over my floor. Cool. All right, I was gonna rip the doors off, but as you can see, look at the style of bolts that they used back then. It just takes a big flathead. And when I put my ratchet on there, you know, I put a ratchet with a flathead on it. And I felt like I was just gonna snap it. So, I won't be taking the doors off today. I'm either gonna buy a larger bit, so I don't just twist out the middle of this and make it completely unmanageable. So for today, these doors are staying on, but I want to rip everything else out. So just exploring in here now, because I have never even looked in here yet. Look at the old kick panels, just a thin piece of cardboard. They're junk. It's like particle board. Gotta get the old piece of floor out because it's a little twisted from, I imagine, just people moving around over the years. Bracket for, looks like a fire extinguisher maybe. Maybe someone had a fire extinguisher in there. I don't know what it was for exactly, but we got some vegetation growing up inside. Glove box. Part of a carb, throttle body. Door handle, and then some springs and miscellaneous gears in there. Now these dashes are small. Like we are a whopping 45 inches. That is a tiny dash. Tiny seat to go with it. Might just put this stuff back in there, get it out of the way. The rubber for the brake pedal. I guess we're missing the bottom of the seat, but it doesn't matter, it's all coming out at the top. Oh! Well, I was wondering where the e-brake was. It's been torched off. Well, that was the e-brake. Doesn't work anymore. And these look like the running board brackets, which I don't need because I don't have running boards on here. Taco Bell. Hey, little Taco Bell. Mountain Dew. That's not very old. Fuel pedal. The bracket's all twisted for the fuel pedal. The whole steering column's been shoved up, you know, look how high the steering wheel is. Yeah, little signal switch. Part of me wants to reuse that, but I found a much nicer system that I'll be going with. All right, well, since I'm not pulling the doors off today, I'm gonna at least try and get everything else off. Get all this stuff off, like unscrewed. Try and get everything on the firewall pulled off. And then see if I can get the windows out. All right, as you can see, I got the firewall all stripped down. And I ended up having to use the cutoff wheel to remove most of the hardware on this firewall, because they really like to use flathead bolts. Well, I can't find any laying around because I cut them all up, but like everything's a flathead like this. And either you can't bite enough to turn it, or they're seized in, or there's a nut on the backside and it just turns, and unless you have a partner here to help you get a wrench on the inside, it just sits there and spins on you. Or you got to keep going around putting vice grips on and screw that. I just cut most of them off. I'll show you what the screws look like. There's a ton of them with the interior, right? They're just bolts like that with just a slotted head bolt. And the stubborn ones, I end up welding a nut to, and some of them spun out, some of them just snapped off. So I'll have to deal with that later. But with everything I've taken off, I did find some cancer in here up above the windshield. So those lights that were on the roof, these lovely gems, they were screwed to the roof, and the hole that the wire went through was obviously leaking. And check this out, here's 2 more screws I don't see a purpose for, because I'll show you inside. They're just sticking out. Look at that, 1 screw there, and there's the other screw there. No purpose, just a hole in the roof now. But that guy right there, that hole, you can pretty much follow the rust down, and there was a huge mouse nest in here, and it was soaked and pretty much rotted everything up there out. So I will have to put a new piece of sheet metal just along the bottom here. I'll have to cut this out, weld a new piece in. Not too bad. But of course the windshield, same thing. The screws don't want to turn. So you'll see here, I end up just cutting the heads off, and that one, and the one at the bottom. So I'm going to pop the windshield out now. I'm not worried about cutting those bolts because, as you can see, this whole frame is pooched. I'll have to get a whole new frame, new window. This glass is cooked, cracked. It's all garbage. Known on these trucks. Most of these trucks, those are rotted. So I'm going to pop the windshield out now, and then see if I can get the back glass out without breaking it, because the back glass is actually in really good shape. Even though I'll probably get all new glass, I don't want to break it, because I may do this one out of Lexan. So I want a template that I can trace it out with. Well, dropping the windshield was not planned, but it's not a big loss because the windshield is junk anyway, along with the frame. Not a big deal. But there was not an elegant way of removing it. The back glass came out great, really easy. I mean, I'm sure there's a right way and a wrong way to remove a back glass, but considering the seal was already like pretty hard and brittle, and I had no intentions on reusing it, just taking a knife and cutting out the one side, I was able to remove the glass pretty easily. And I mean, I could almost reuse this if I wanted to. It's pretty thick glass. So I don't know if I'm going to reuse it or not. They do sell entire glass kits for these trucks, which I might just do that, buy all new glass. I was also thinking of going Lexan as well, so I haven't decided yet. I just don't like to break stuff if I don't need to. If it's already junk, who cares? All right, it's gonna pull the tank out, and look! More flathead screws. Everything on this truck is held together with flathead screws. These things suck. All right, that really wasn't that bad. I'm just sick of flathead screws. All right, well, I haven't lifted this up yet, so we shall see if there's any surprises underneath. Oh. All right, I put the camera down just so I could put all my muscles into this, but I popped her up. Oh, we're gonna see what's underneath, if anything. Just more squirrel or mouse evidence. That's about it. Almost looks oily underneath. Maybe this fuel tank was leaking at one point. But okay, no surprises. All right, after a couple nights, I've made some progress. I got one door off, and it was not easy. So these large flatheads, they are stubborn. I end up welding a nut to the top of them and getting them out with a normal socket. You just can't get enough bite on these. For how tight they are or seized up they are, you just can't get enough bite. And I even used one of these guys, right here. It's an impact driver, like you smash the top of the hammer, and when you do so, the end of this will turn a bit. And it worked great on these little bolts because everything on this truck has a slotted top to it. So all the bolts that hold the door panel on, which there's about a dozen, this thing took them out great. But for those large guys, it wouldn't work. I even took my larger bit in this piece and stuck it in my impact, and right away I twisted. You can see the twist in that. So that's garbage. So welding a nut was the only way to get it off. Now I still have to weld all these, get those out so I can get the hinges off, because when I paint this, I want to be able to get paint down in behind the hinge in that area. So these have to come off for that. So tonight I want to get this door off. So I got to do the same thing. I got to pull the door panel off. I want to break everything down the best I can before I send it off for sandblasting. So I got to weld nuts to the top of all these. I got to weld nuts to these, get that all apart. And then after removing the windshield, I noticed that the dash is also just bolted in from the front side there, and along the bottom there's screws. There's actually a bolt back here, so I can actually remove the whole dash, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to remove the dash, separate it all, get the gauge cluster out of it, and I think by removing the dash, I will be able to bring the roll cage down the inside of the pillar. So I'll probably cut a hole right here, and that way I can keep the cage as tight to the A-pillar as possible, and then it'll just come down in here. That gives me the most room to get in and out of the truck because the opening is not very large. Right now, we're gonna rip this door off. Now, before I pull this door off, I just want to show you what I had planned. This drip edge, okay, it's a little bent up from years of being moved around. Instead of trying to straighten it out, I want to make this thing as sleek as possible. I'm going to remove that drip edge. It's spot welded in, so I'm going to have to drill out all the spot welds around it. But then without the drip edge, I mean, it should be a nice smooth transition from the roof to the top of the door. I mean, this thing's not going to see much rain, if any, anyway, so why keep it? I think it'll look better without it, and you know, whatever, weight reduction, right? There's gonna be a lot. I mean, I like to do my own little changes, and you know, some people might not like the changes I make, but you know, you do whatever you want with your truck, I'll do whatever I want with mine, and mine will not have a drip edge. Okay, I'm gonna wrestle this door off, and then I'm gonna go inside, and that'll be it for the night. Okay, here we are a couple days later. Got everything stripped down. I've got the drip edges ripped off, just drilled the spot welds, hammered it with a chisel, they fell right off. The hinges, I know I said I was gonna take them off so I can get paint in behind here. I think I'm gonna leave them on now because they are a nightmare to get off. and I'm just sick of screwing around with it. So they're gonna stay. This one might have to come out, or I might have to hammer the pin out, because this is the only one that's got play in it. The rest of them are all tight. So I'll deal with that at a later time. I cut out the base for the seat that wrapped around the fuel tank, got rid of that, and all that tar stuff that was on the bottom here, I just threw some lacquer thinner on it. It softened it up, scraped right off. Now it's all clean. The front end I have separated from the fenders, and this is what we're left with. The grill is actually in pretty decent shape, and it still has the rad support behind it. And the more I look at it, the more I like it. And I think I want to try and make it work. And here's my thoughts. If I was to lose the outside 2 ribs, right? The outside 2 gone. So this would be the new outside. So basically narrowing it up. And I kind of like the looks of that. And then I can still run a stock-ish style rad in the front. And I mean, save money by having, I already have it. Not having to go and buy another grill and set up and trying to make something else work. I mean, if I can save money somewhere, that's the way to go. So not set in stone yet, but I think that's what I want to do. I think I want to try and use that grill. But I'm taking this as far as I can take it right now. It's off to sandblasting, and then when we get her back, we'll have to start doing some rust repair. But that's it for this video. Bye.